Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So the depth chart has been released, the updated depth chart going into this week's preseason game. And there was a bit of a surprise for me on the depth chart. Let's take a look at that. On offense, at running back, we have Jaylen Warren and Lou Nichols. Seems like they're first string. Kenneth Gainwell second, and Kaleb Johnson third. Do you think that's because Kaleb Johnson hasn't played well in the preseason? Yesterday, there was also at the end of practice, at the end of camp, Aaron Rodgers had a real animated verbal confrontation with Kaleb Johnson for not running the route the right way. I also read a lot of things, a lot of questions from Pittsburgh Steelers insiders and beat reporters saying, is this game too fast for Kaleb Johnson, meaning the pro game? I don't know. I think it's too soon to tell, but I will say one thing. I love Jaylen Warren. And I felt that when Pittsburgh Steelers last year struggled, I felt that Jaylen Warren should have got more opportunities. He brings more oomph. He brings more explosiveness to the offense. I really like his style of play. Hey, you can't be Barry Sanders unless you get the opportunity to be Barry Sanders. And, a lot of people will say that Najee Harris struggled. I thought that Najee was Najee. You knew exactly what you were getting from Najee Harris. He never missed a game. He always went over 1,000 yards. But last year he struggled because we had no quarterback play and we didn't have a really good offensive line. So I felt that Jaylen Warren being a bit more explosive, he should have got the carries. We've never seen Jaylen Warren get 20, 22, 25 carries a game. Can he be an Emmitt Smith? Can he be a Barry Sanders? Can he be that guy? I think he can be that guy. But if he's only getting 7 touches a game, 5 touches a game, it's very hard to prove that you can be that guy. I wanted Najee to be re-signed. But if Najee, obviously Najee's on the Chargers, so he's not coming back. And I feel that Jaylen Warren should be the starter. And he should be getting those 20 carries a game, and we should be able to see what he can do. It's his time. He should get that opportunity. Now, Lou Nichols, number 35, he did look explosive the other day in the preseason game. He looked pretty good. I'm not going to get into second string, third string, who he was playing against, because, for the most part, we know they weren't first stringers. Some of them might have been out there first stringers. It's irrelevant. They're still all NFL players, right? It's the best competition that he's ever faced, so it's got to mean something. Now, Kenneth Gainwell on the Philadelphia Eagles, I feel that Kenneth Gainwell is kind of like Jaylen Warren, very similar. I don't mean height-wise or their builds. I mean as far as getting the opportunity that proves that he can be that guy. Every time that Kenneth Gainwell got on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles, he made the most of his opportunities. He can catch the ball. He's very explosive. But again, his opportunities were limited. I have no problem going into this season with Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell as the main running backs. Lou Nichols here, he seemed to move up the depth chart, but we're going to have to wait and see. Also in the offense, I thought this was kind of interesting. It says Pat Freiermuth or Jono Smith. I am not sold on Jono Smith at all. He hasn't even practiced. He's not even in sync with Aaron Rodgers. And I'm always skeptical of these guys. He was in the league for 8 years, did absolutely nothing. In his 9th year, he had a good season. You're going to be like, what's the big deal? It just says Pat Freiermuth or Jono Smith as the number 1 tight end in the offense. But if I'm Pat Freiermuth, I look at the depth chart, I'm like, what do you mean, or? Like, he ain't playing over me. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Jono Smith at all. I'm not a believer. These one-hit wonders, 9th year in the league. Fine, he was kind of just like an extra cherry on the ice cream with the Minka Fitzpatrick trade with Jalen Ramsey. But if I'm Pat Freiermuth and I start missing reps to Jono Smith, I'm not a happy camper at all. See what else we got going on here. Calvin Austin III, Robert Woods, Roman Wilson is third on the depth chart. DK Metcalf, Scotty Miller, Ben Skowronek. Guess Scotty. It looks like Scotty Miller is going to stick around. I mean, if I had to keep a wide receiver between Robert Woods or Scotty Miller on the roster to make the 55-man roster, I would definitely take Scotty Miller because he's faster, he's younger, and I like Robert Woods. He's always been a productive guy, a classy guy, so it's nothing personal. But they're not going to get rid of Ben Skowronek because he blocks on the perimeter very well. And of course, they're going to keep Roman Wilson around because they're trying to develop him and see what he could do. Let's look at the defense. Cam Hayward, Keanu, Derek Harmon, TJ, Patrick, Peyton, Alex, Darius, Juan Thornhill, Deshaun Elliott, Joey Porter Jr., Jalen Ramsey. Oh, wait. You know what I wanted to talk about? Max Hurlman is very, very athletic. You know, he played at Notre Dame. He played somewhere else in college. And I think at Notre Dame, I'm positive at Notre Dame, he was a defensive back. He's super athletic. He'll be good on special teams. He gives you 100% effort. He scored a touchdown the other day in the preseason. I really think that Max Hurlman, I think, should be working with the defensive backs. Particularly, he should work it. I think Max needs to be with the free safety group. I think he could pull it off. I think he has that type of athleticism because that strong safety, Deshaun Elliott and Chuck Clark, Sebastian Castro, you know, they're true strong safeties. We're not really deep at free safety at all. Juan Thornhill, Miles Killebrew, I'm really not a fan of. You know, he's a great guy, special teams guy, but when he's out there, he's definitely a liability at the free safety position. And I think Max Hurlman is 10 times more athletic than Miles Killebrew is. And I think that Max Hurlman, if he wants to stick around longer, he needs to go back to defensive back and not wide receiver. I don't think he's going to get any opportunities for the most part as a wide receiver in this offense. There's a lot of guys on the Pittsburgh Steelers offense that can catch the ball. There's only so many balls to go around, and Max Hurlman needs to make the switch to defense and special teams, and he needs to be at free safety, not strong safety. So the only two big changes on the Pittsburgh Steelers depth chart are Kaleb Johnson, and I mean, I know this thing with Pat Freiermuth or Jono Smith. I don't like that. You know, I think Pat Freiermuth, for the first time in a long time, he's going to be with a real quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. He had some drops last year at the worst possible times, and he knows that. He knows he needs to play better. But I don't ever want to see Jono Smith on the field over Pat Freiermuth. That's just my opinion. Other than that, nothing's really changed with the Pittsburgh Steelers depth chart. And I believe that Max Hurlman needs to move to the defensive side of the ball, specifically free safety. These players are not suiting up this Saturday night against the Buccaneers at Acrisure Stadium are listed below. Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, Pat Freiermuth, Jono Smith, Isaac Seumalo, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, Patrick Queen, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Deshaun Elliott, Nick Herbig, who was held out last week, may get some reps depending on the quality of his work at today's joint practice. I mean, there's no surprises here. That's a good move by Coach Tomlin. I don't want to see any of these guys to the regular season. Jerry Dulac, he came out and said what I said yesterday. Most disappointing part of training camp, Steelers' run game has shown no improvement. I totally agree. I think it's very alarming when you only average 2.4 yards a carry in the preseason. It doesn't matter. You need to run the football. So I don't want to hear that it's only the preseason because you practice how you're going to play. So it doesn't matter that it's the preseason. You should be able to move the football. You know, I know you're going to be like, oh, man, you're going from we can't run to the football to we're going to win the Super Bowl. But, yeah, I do believe that. I do believe this team really reminds me of the Buccaneers with Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette when they put all the pieces together and they won the Super Bowl. You know, with Antonio Brown also, I really don't like bringing up his name, but I think that's the way it's going to turn out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When Aaron Rodgers is behind center and that ball's being flung all over the field, it's going to open up the running game a little bit more. The offensive line didn't play bad. There was a hat on a hat during the run plays. Just that Kaleb Johnson didn't seem to hit the hole at the right time or not fast enough, and then the hole closed up sooner than later. And that's what I saw. I don't think that was an offensive line issue. You know, the offensive line pass pro was good, and the run blocking, again, when you watch the all 22 film, nobody whiffed on any blocks. They all made contact with the defenders. They all had a hat on a hat. It's up to you as the running back. You know, you got to hit the hole. You got to make the plays. You got to burst through there. So I don't think it's the offensive line. I think it's the backs and the system. Again, I could be totally wrong. I only watched one preseason game and I did break down the all 22 film, but I don't think that the offensive line played bad. I think that Kaleb Johnson made some bad reads, and that's why the running game didn't get started. And I'm going to end it with this. Troy Fontano had to get his timing back, make corrections in past week. Pat Meyer says, coming back early in camp, his timing was a little bit off, just like it always is. Your timing's off after not seeing it. Your set timing and stuff, he said of Fontano. He's got his timing back, and he's learning the little basic nuances to some of the different techniques with his feet and hand timing and his strike. But he's done a nice job over the last week or so of correcting some of that stuff. Pat Meyer, he went on the Breakfast with Ben's podcast. He said that Troy's been solid, noting the work he had put in against TJ Watt. And Meyer added, he's a powerful kid. He's diligent about his work, and they all feed off each other. He's done an admirable job right now. So just continue to work timing, different approaches to the blocks, but he's done a nice job. Hey, I mean, that's all you can hope for at this point. We got to hope that Troy Fontano plays the entire season. He's been injury prone in college. Not all the time, but he was injured again last year, and we need to see if he can make it through the season. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.